Gary Smith, does lack of sex affect erectile function? I tell you one thing, particularly for ladies, if you don't use it, it's going to dry up down there, and for gentlemen as well. So if you think about it, it makes sense, right? You think back to when you were a track star and you were running every day. You had the abs were cut up, your arms were cut up, your legs were cut up. What happened when you stopped running track, right? Those abs and those legs aren't quite the same. And erectile strength, clitoral activity, it's all the same. If you do not use it, you will lose it. And so going on an abstinence kick is fine, but I still advocate for exercises periodically. Like when you go through a dry spell, maybe you're not dating anybody, or maybe you've sworn off sex because it gets you into trouble, because there are a lot of us that are doing that. I still think that during that time period, exercising your ability to get turned on is important, because if you don't exercise your ability to get turned on, then sometimes you might wake up and you won't be able to get it turned on. So abstinence, where you're just not having any form of sex ever, 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 or sexual contact, or erectile function, or masturbating, or what have you, if you don't ever do that ever, eventually you won't be able to never do never of any of it. Okay, so that's a great question, and I believe that full heartedly, but there's also pretty good data to suggest, particularly in women, that the more you prime the pump, the more you're stimulated, the more you masturbate, the more you touch yourself, the more things happen around that area, then you're much more likely to feel like having sex and to be able to have sex. Because in both men and women, erectile tissue is present for guys in the penis and in the corpora, and all in the erectile tissue, but women have erectile tissue too, and that is in the clitoral fibers, right? So the clitoris, when we look at it, embryologically, the clitoris and the penis pretty much mirror each other. So the same things that work for guys particularly would work for a lady with a clitoris, right? And so it starts with engorgement. We've got lubrication. All of that happens with both men and women. And the same thing can be said. If you do not use it, you will lose it. So if you've ever been in a long-term relationship, you know how these go. Sometimes you get to the point where you guys aren't having sex as much, right? And what's happening there is it becomes a vicious cycle. You're not having sex as much. Maybe the kids are, you wrapped up more in the kids than usual, or you're working more. So what happens traditionally is one person who isn't really, as much into sex in the first place has gotten out of the habit of having it. Now, when you try to start back, they just don't get turned on as much. They're just like, well, I don't really think about it. Well, it's part of the process. We can just say the tissue fell asleep. So that's why ultimately, even when you are not in a relationship, if you plan on maintaining sexual activity into the golden years, you do want to learn how to play with yourself.